Hi guys, this is Dr. Schoner checking in with you on Sunday, August 30th, the day before week 2 kicks off. I thought I'd make a quick video for our African American history class about what to do and what to expect for our first paper assignment that's due at the end of Friday, September 4th this week. So let's go to the Blackboard site. Weekly modules, week 2 is where we're at. There's your checklist up here of the things to read. You've got 10 documents to read in a National Geographic video that's really short but interesting on Nat Turner. So, in case you wanted to get started, I'm going to talk about more paper stuff on Wednesday. But in case you wanted to get started on the paper sooner than that, and I recommend you do so, there's a bunch of stuff in the week 2 folder related to the paper. At the very bottom of the folder, excuse me, I just burped, is their paper 1 assignment. And this is where you will upload your paper. It gives you the directions right here in the actual prompt. So it says following the directions of the paper template, which we'll go over in just a second, craft a 2 to 3 page or 500 to 700 word essay that addresses the questions down here. And you're going to use, at your disposal, are the documents from weeks 1 and 2. So the very beginnings of African Americans arriving to the American continents, as we talked about in week 1, we talk about the introduction of slavery. Week 2 is going to be talking more about institutionalized slavery and slave resistance. And that's basically what you're going to be writing about for the first paper. So you're going to use the documents from weeks 1 and 2. You can use the videos that I put on here too, if you want, to provide evidence to back up your answers. Okay, that's the key thing here, is to use the documents to help you answer the questions. The questions are here about basically asking how would you describe in a general way the experience of African Americans in the first centuries of arrival to the American continents, right? How does African American history begin? That's a pretty broad question. You can answer that however you want, but use the documents to help you answer those questions and show your work too. We'll talk about citations here in just a second. Also, which moments of early slave resistance were the most successful? Why did other revolts fail? And then finally, why do you think that slave revolts and slave resistance is not commonly taught in American history courses? Why do you think that might be? And that's a pretty open-ended question. So when you've written your paper, you just click on, you want to click on this actual, where it says paper 1 assignment here at the very top next to the picture of the paper here. Click on paper 1, and this is where you upload it, right? You can upload directly from a document on your computer. You can, if you have to, you can just write your whole paper in this text box if you want. I don't recommend doing that because then it's going to be tricky to format it correctly. If you time out of your browser and you have to log back into Blackboard, you could lose all of your work. So I don't recommend just typing the paper directly into the text box. Use Microsoft Word or Google Docs or something and create its own standalone file. You want to click this checkbox to run it through the Safe Assign, and then you just click in the bottom right to submit. So that's how you would actually submit the paper. Now, you'll see a couple other things related to the paper as well. I mentioned the paper template, which is its own file right here. If you open that up, whoops, I'm going to open that up so we can look at it. Here you see basically it's the structure of how I want these papers to look, right? These 2 to 3 page analysis papers are all going to look the same. Up at the top here, you have your name, the class, the instructor, and which assignment. It's all going to be in 12-point font. You're going to use Times New Roman or Calibri font or type. Double space the paper, default margins for Microsoft Word, and then just make sure you include this stuff up here. every good college level essay has an introduction, a body, and conclusion. That's pretty basic stuff for writing any kind of essay. But if you want more info on that, you can read this on your own time. The length we talked about, it can be longer than 3 pages if you want to. It's certainly not going to hurt you. It can only help you to include more information. Anything less than 2 pages, though, we start to run into problems of, like, are you actually satisfying the questions that are asked? It's hard to do that in less than 2 complete pages. So make sure that you abide by this word minimum, at least meet the threshold, because otherwise it's going to be not a very complete paper. Grading, we'll go over the rubric in just a second. The citations, anytime you use a document as evidence in your essay, if you're making a point about slave resistance, you have a bunch of different documents to draw from to help you make your point. And every time you use a document directly, you want to cite it. And so I have an example down here, right? In Richard Allen's address to the free people of color of the United States, that's one of the document. That's the last document that you have to read for this week. Black delegates from several northern states met in 1830 to discuss a mass migration of Black Americans to Canada as an option to address the deplorable situation. And this is a direct quote from Richard Allen. Deplorable situation of African Americans in the United States. And so the way that this would be cited in your paper is, since we're all using the same book, and I don't feel the need for you guys to type out like the author and the title of each document, just use the number. Just use the document number that each document has in our book. So Richard Allen's address to the free people of color is document 3.10, and then include the page number where you're pulling this quote from, right? So in this case, the deplorable situation is found on page 155 of your book. That's all you have to do. Just indicate which document you're using and the page number. That's an easy, quick way of citing it. You just put those in parentheses at the end of the sentence, and boom, you're done. So yeah, I would recommend drawing from like a handful of documents. I'm not giving you any kind of minimum or maximum of documents to cite in these papers. That's up to you. The more, the better, because you're giving me a varied, a diverse platform of evidence to draw from to strengthen your paper. But I would use at least 3 documents, like bare minimum. Bare minimum, use 3, but definitely shoot for more to help answer these questions. Okay. Now, there's also the rubric on Blackboard, and this is the rubric. Every essay is 100 points possible, maximum of 100 points. 40 of those points will be based on the content. Just are you actually trying to address the questions I'm asking you? 20 points, up to 20 points from the evidence. Like, are you using these documents to back up your content? Are you using the documents from the book to answer the questions? The minimum length is worth up to 20. If you meet the threshold for 2 to 3 pages, you're looking at 20 points right there. Are you citing the documents that you're using and citing them correctly? That's out of 10. And then finally, composition, just good old basic English, is also worth 10 points. So that's the basic rundown. I can always answer questions that you might have. Send me an email or hop in during office hours. I'll post the Zoom links every week to my office hours, or you can raise it in class on Wednesday if you have any questions whatsoever. But otherwise, I wanted to give you the tools to get started on these papers as soon as you wanted to, so you have almost an entire week to work on it. Okay, guys, I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good rest of your weekend.